Today we're going to talk about styling and some of the styles that you can add to certain aspects of your website to clean it up and make it look better. So the last things that we did, we added the sidebar with all of its special widgets in here, and then at the bottom of the page we added the footer with a bunch of widgets in it as well. Now what we want to be able to do is style these so that they look nice in context with the website, and we can do that by creating styles that affect both the sidebar and the footer at the same time because they're both widgets. If we go back to our functions.php file and we look at the register sidebar code, which is in the functions.php file, we can see that the styles applied to this widget are, there's a class which is called widget, and then it has the name of the widget. And then there's an h1 class for the title, which is widget title. Now, since we copied and pasted this code here right below it to make a new sidebar, which was our footer widget sidebar, it has exactly the same class. It's got the widget class here with the name of the widget, and then it's got the same title class too, widget title. So what that means is if we go into our style sheet and create styles, classes that apply to widget and widget title, it will at the same time apply to both of these widgets and create styles for both our sidebar and our footer. Now, we're on the functions.php page here, but if we switch over to our style.css page, we can locate where the widget styles are and then update those, so we are adding some styles to the widgets. So if you go up here to the top of your styles.css page, you remember you have this menu area, this table of contents area, and we can look down here and we can see that widgets are in the 9.0 section. So we can just highlight that 9.0 and do Command C on a Macintosh, and then we can do find, so edit, find and replace will work. We simply look in this current document for 9.0 and we do find all. Our search box comes up down here and has two instances. The first one is this one that we see because it goes in order from the top down. So if we double click on the second one, it should zoom us down the page to the widgets area, which is the only 9.0 on the page other than that top one. Now, once you've done this, if this section down here at the bottom is too big for you, you can close it by clicking on the button with the three lines on it and saying Close Tab Group. That will give us a little more room here. Now you can see in the widget section we have three styles. Dot widget, which is a class of widget, and it just has a margin at the bottom of 1.5 EM. We have widget select, which is just the width of 100% for the widget, and a widget search and search submit style. So we're going to leave these bottom two alone, and we're just going to add some styles to the widget class style here. So we're going to start by redoing this margin style here. I'm going to go ahead and click in here and wipe this information out. We're going to redo the margins so that we've got 0 and 0 and then 4 EM for the padding, and that will give us a little better padding around the widgets. We're going to go to the font family, type in that style, and we're going to use the Lato style. Then we're going to default to sans serif if people cannot access Lato. We're going to do a font size of 16 pixels, and then a rem version of that size, which is a relative EM version for newer browsers, 1.6 ems. Okay, so then what we're going to do is add a new style underneath this. So the other style we're going to add in is widget title, which you'll remember was the other style that was mentioned here in the functions PHP page, widget title. So we're going to go ahead and add that in. So we'll go ahead and put dot, which means class, and then widget dash title. Put in our beginning curly brace here and hit our return key. Then we're going to put a margin at the bottom to put some space between the widgets, and we'll make that 1 We're going to put in a font size of 24 pixels, and we're going to do the relative EM version of that for newer browsers, 2.4 relative ems. And we're also going to put a line at the bottom of each widget, which is going to be referred to as border bottom, which is going to be 2 pixels thick. It's going to be solid as opposed to dashed, and it's going to have a color of black. All right, so now we have our two styles, widget and widget title. You can see that I made a mistake here. This attribute right here, hopefully you can see on your screen that this is a lighter color blue than these dark blues. And what's happening is Dreamweaver is showing me that a mistake was made by color coding a mistaken area differently. So maybe you can see what the mistake is. This line up here on the top, I forgot to put a semicolon at the end of it, terminating the line and terminating the attribute. And so the next line runs into this line. The first line runs into the second, and then that becomes the whole attribute. So Dreamweaver changed the color of this for me. So what I'm going to do is go up here to the end of this. I'm going to add my semicolon and watch how this color of this line changes when I do that. Okay, see how it got darker down there? So now everything is correct. So now what we're going to do is we're going to save this style. We'll just simply go File, Save. We're going to upload it to the website using the put command. And then we'll go out to the website and check the look of how it's going to look with our new styles. So this is how the website looks before we hit refresh and see the new styles applied. And so now I'm going to hit the refresh button. And now you can see, since I've hit the refresh button, how it differs. We've got the archives list here, which is this nice big font here with a line underneath it. We've got our text. We have some space at the end of that widget, and then more of the same here. Okay, and if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we can see that this as well has the text and the underlines, the space in between widgets. So we've got a consistent style happening in all of our widgets right now. Now, by the way, I should mention that I'm recording this video on a laptop, and I had to shrink the view of this screen a little bit so I could fit the whole thing in. So you're probably seeing something different on your screen. Like, for example, this text over here is probably much smaller on your screen, and this is probably larger. So this is giving you a slightly skewed view of the page. However, whatever it looks like on your screen is fine. It's the appropriate way that it should look. This is simply so that I can show everything on the screen all at once. Now, one of the things we might want to do is we might want to make these little links over here that are inside the widget. We might want to make those bold. We might want to make them black, a certain color. So let's go back to our style sheet and let's add a new style underneath the widget title. So we'll call this dot, which is a class, and then widget, and then the letter A. And of course, A refers to a link. So what this class is any link inside of a widget area. In other words, the A represents any link. So now we can hit our Enter key. We can go down here, and we can say we want to make this bold. So maybe we type font weight, and you can either put bold or you can put a number in here which represents a scale moving up through certain levels of boldness from 100 up to 900 and then bold. And we'll set this at 700 to get about 3/4 of the way to bold. Put our semicolon there. Then we're going to put in the color, which is going to be black, which is 000, and of course we'll set the color for newer browsers, which would be listed as hue, saturation, and lightness. And then we would put that in as 0%, and 0%, then a semicolon, and finally a closing curly bracket to finish off that style. Now let's upload this. Go out to our page, take a look at how it looks before we refresh the page. I apologize, this is the page I want to go to. And then we'll hit refresh. And you can see now that these are bold and they're black. The links are black. All right, and you can see here that like this February, which is a link, is bold. Now, in this case, nearly everything in this sidebar is a link, so it's giving you sort of a skewed version of this, because obviously there might be some sidebar content which is just text, which is not a link, and then the bold would stand out from that. Now, if we go back to our page here and we look at the way that this is set up, we can see that all of the links are bold, but they're also underlined, and that creates a lot of lines here, which we might not like the aesthetic of that. So we can simply change that by going in and making changes to our style sheet. So what we'll do is the line which is underneath a link is controlled here within the link area of the style. And that line is referred to as a text decoration, and that's actually the style attribute we want to change. So if we go here to the last line of our widget A style and we click our mouse cursor on that last line and hit enter, we can start typing the word text and we get the code hints here. We can double click on text decoration, and that is what decorates the text when it's a link. You can see you have all these different choices here. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to say none. So basically what we're saying is if something's a link, don't put an underline underneath it, which is the default thing that happens in HTML. It puts an underline to let you know it's a link. We don't want the link there until you actually hover over it. So we're going to take the link out when it's just showing up on the page, and then we're going to put the link back in when you hover over it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this entire widget A style. Click after widget A, hit enter a couple times, and paste that back in. Something bizarre happened. I didn't get the whole thing, so let me try one more time. Okay, copy, and then we'll paste in here. Okay, there it is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these first three styles here because I don't need to mess with those. And instead of just widget A, this is going to be when you hover your mouse over it. So I'm going to put widget A : hover. Now, make the A : hover all fit together. Don't put a space in here or it won't work out. The text decoration for when you roll over it, we want that to be when the underline appears. So we're going to take out none and change it to underline. So now when something is just a link in one of the widgets, it should have no underline underneath it. When you hover over it, it should have an underline that appears. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to upload that to the site. Then we're going to go back here. We notice that this is the old version of the site. We're going to hit the refresh button. We're going to see the underlines have disappeared when the links just show up on the pages, but when you roll over them, the underlines reappear to show you that that's a link. So that's how that style works. Let's go back here. Now we've done a certain amount of styling on our widget here, but there's more styling to be done. And that styling that we want to do will apply to what are referred to as the ordered lists in the widget. And what those are, this is an example of an unordered list. In other words, there's no numbers on the list, there's just the bullets. But you can see that a lot of these widgets have lists in them. So we want to add some styles which go ahead and make those lists look good. So we actually have some code snippets that we can paste in to make those styles look good. So we're going to go to our code snippets, which are right here. And you can see that this widget A is something we already added in. But down here where it says widget UL, widget OL, all the way down to this section here, which is widget LI. This is for unordered lists and ordered lists. This is for the actual list items themselves. And we're going to go ahead and copy all of that. We're going to go back to Dreamweaver. We'll go ahead and paste this in underneath our existing widget styles. We'll go ahead and upload that. And we'll go ahead and take a look after we refresh that. So you can see that what we've done is we've gotten rid of the bullets on that list and on this list because it just looks cleaner without those. So it's just a much cleaner presentation of the data. Now we can see that this sidebar widget is starting to look pretty good. But if we scroll down here to our footer widget, which is way down here, we can see that there are some issues down here. We have the archives list is in white, which makes it easy to see on this dark background. But none of our text is in white, and also this line is not in white. Also, we have a lot of information here. It looks like this is just one widget stacked on top of another, but if we have a wide screen, it would sure be nice if these would stack up next to each other sort of horizontally so that we could see all the information going across this way. So now fortunately we have some code snippets available that we can use to help us with this. So if we go to the code snippets and scroll down a little bit, we see that there is an area for footer widgets. And so what we'll do is we'll highlight from the start of the footer widgets all the way down to the bottom here. We'll copy that. We'll go back and we'll go to the bottom of our widget area on the style sheet and paste in our footer widget styles. We'll upload those. Go back to our page here. You can see this is what it looks like right now before I hit the refresh. So we hit refresh and we see that most of what we wanted is working. The titles here are in white, as are the underlines. The widgets are stacking up nicely next to each other. However, we have this problem where the links, which are these words right here, are still in black, and that's because they're being controlled by the general widget styling, which made all the links black. So what we need to do is add a style in here that leaves the general widget styling black for the links, but specifically makes it white for the footer widget. So we'll come in here and we'll click here after our footer widgets A hover, make some space there, and we'll put a new style in. We'll call it dot footer dash widgets, and this is sort of the general style that we're looking for, footer dot widgets. Then after that we'll put a space and we'll put the specific style within the general style we want to adjust. So that will be called dot widget A. So in other words, any link which is inside the footer widget we want to style in this specific way. So we'll make a curly bracket and we'll type in color, which will be the color of the text, the general text, and we'll put in $FFF, which is white, and a semicolon. And we'll hit enter, and then we'll put in our curly brace, our closed curly brace. So you see up here, it's controlling the hover, which is when you roll over it, and it's making it white. Now if we wanted to, we could also add in this line here, which is for newer browsers, which is the hue, saturation, lightness. That's an L, by the way, not a 1 or an I. And that will make it appear white in newer browsers. Now let's take this and upload it. And let's go here and hit refresh. And now you can see that all of the text itself is white for all of these different widget areas. Now we've made some improvements to the look of the widgets, but we still have an issue here where all of the widgets look sort of similar. They're all sort of bland and the same, and you can't really see any distinction from one widget to the next. So what we might want to do is add specific styles to each of these widgets. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into our dashboard. We're going to go into Appearance Widgets. And if you recall, we have the monster widget here, which is the thing that brings in all of the widgets so we can test them all out at once. But what we're going to do is we're just going to apply specific styles to just 4 widgets and take the monster out of commission just so that we can concentrate on these 4 and how they look. So what we want to do is we want to grab the recent posts widget over here, and we want to grab that and drop it into the sidebar above the monster. We want to grab recent comments. Let's see, that's right here. Put that underneath recent posts but above monster. Now we want archives, and that's over here. These are listed alphabetically. Put that above monster. And then last but not least, we want to put a custom menu in. So let's take that and drop that down here. Now in the custom menu, we need to give that a title. So we'll go ahead and we'll title that custom menu. And we also need to select what menu we want to bring in. So we'll just bring in the testing menu here. Now we can hit save to save the changes that we made. You can see that the recent posts are going to show the 5 most recent posts by default. And the recent comments are also going to show the 5 most recent comments. We can hit close on both of these. You have options there. You could check that off if you also wanted to display the post date. And every time you make a change in here, like if you wanted to put a title which would appear above your recent post, you got to hit save or else that action is not going to occur. So we made a change here, but we already hit save, so we can close that up as well. Now I'm not going to do anything with the archive section right now, so I'll just go ahead and hit close on that as well. So now this is what will appear, these 4 at the top, and then of course our monster widget, which is everything else underneath. Now once you've made changes to this page, the only saving you have to do is when you make changes to the individual widgets themselves. There's that little save button that appears when you open the widget. But you don't have to do a save for this page in general, because once you drag a widget onto one of the sidebars, like the sidebar itself, or if we open this up with the disclosure triangle, the footer, once you drag either a widget onto there or you even drag it off and take it into this inactive widget section, that change is automatically made, and now you can go back to the front end of the website and see what it looks like. And so what we should see is recent posts and then recent comments up at the top when we refresh this page. So we're going to go here, we're going to hit refresh, let this thing do its little refreshing magic, which is going just a little bit slow. Okay, and sure enough, recent posts is showing up there, recent comments, the archive section, and of course our custom menu with all of the testing data in it. Now if we want to style specific widgets, we're going to have to be able to figure out where the code is that deals with these individual widgets. So for that, I'm going to switch over here to my Chrome browser, which has the same page brought up. And I'm going to do that because Chrome has, from the drop-down menu here, the hamburger, you can go into more tools and then developer tools and open up this little developer window. You can also do the same with the Firebug plugin, which can be downloaded for Firefox, the latest version of Firefox, and I believe the later version of Firefox also have a similar developer tool like this. Well, once we're in here, we can click on the magnifying glass, come over here to one of our posts and highlight it and click off to the right of it like that. And then what you'll see is that this has a class assigned to it, which is the widget class, which means that it's within the widget area, and then a specific class of widget underscore recent underscore entries. And so that would be the style that we would use to style this section over here. By the same token, if we went down here to the comments and clicked on our magnifying glass again, and then clicked off to the right of one of these comments, we see that it has a class of widget and then widget recent comments. So this is how we can target individual areas for styling. Now I do have to apologize in advance because if you listen carefully, you're about to hear a train go by. I'm recording this in my studio, which is right next to the train tracks. There's the train whistle. Also at the studio here, there's a performance, a concert going on in the main gallery, which is about 150 feet from my office. And that's a show where a DJ is playing loud music with thumping bass and another musician is performing with him. So if you hear these sort of low bass sounds sort of rumbling through, or maybe a train whistle, that's just the background ambience that makes these tutorials so special. Now, one of my students asked me last week, they asked if I had kids because they thought they heard the sound of a child laughing in the background of one of these videos, and I had to tell her, no, I've eaten all the children who were around the studio, so there's no children. Okay, so let's see what else we might want to add to these to make them styled a little differently. Well, let me introduce you to a new website that you could use to your advantage. It's called Font Awesome. So Font Awesome, just type that into your browser and search for it. You'll be able to come to this website. This is a website that allows you to get some cool iconic fonts and CSS tools. We're going to go in here to the icon area. We're going to click on that, and we're going to search through the icons. We're just going to go ahead and type the word archive. We can see that there's a couple of little icons here, which are actually fonts that we can use on our website in that widget area, specifically in the archive section. So let's click on this one here. We can see that this is what the archive widget looks like. And we can see that there's even a piece of code which is called Unicode, and it's F187 is the code which will make this icon appear. Now there's a couple more icons we want to get, so I'm going to go back to my search option here. I'm going to type in the word align-left, and we're going to see that there's this option available to us, which is Unicode F036. Okay, so keep that in mind. We're going to go back to the search option here. So that left align icon that we just saw, we're going to use that for the recent posts. For the comments, we're just going to do a search in here, and we're going to use this little comment bubble for our comments. It's got a Unicode of F075. Okay, so those are the icons we want to use. Now if I go back to my Safari browser here, what we want to do is we want to put these icons in here, which means we want them to be over here on the left side, but if we put them over here, they're going to float out in this column here. So we have to take all of our text, we have to indent it over to the right, so there's room for the icons, and some of these are multi-line pieces of information. We have to make sure those format correctly. So we have to use CSS to sort of inject these little icons into this area before the content. So fortunately, we have some code snippets which will help us out with all the things we need to do here. So if we go over to our code snippets area, and this is where we just were with the footer widgets, we scroll down a little bit, we can see that there are some code snippets for these widget icons that we want to add. So for example, these code snippets were created here at the top for all three of the areas that we're adding widgets to, or that we're adding icons to. And all three of these, the recent entries, the recent comments, and the archive section, they all have a common amount of code which will apply to the icons themselves, which have the font family of Font Awesome. So this block of code applies to all three sets of icons. Now down here, we have to use these pieces of code to go ahead and indent the information, the text information. So the recent entries and the recent comments are both being indented here to the right. Recent archives is just a little different, so it gets a different set of measurements here to be indented. And then we have to bring the icons themselves in. And if you remember, there was the Unicode, which represented each of those little font items, which is actually the icon. So here's the recent entries, and it's called list item before, and that literally means before the listed item, right? So that if the item is a piece of text, this icon appears before it. The content is a backslash, and then the Unicode, which represents the icon we want for recent entries. Same for recent comments. There's the Unicode for that. And down here is the Unicode for the archive, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of this code here from this point up to here. We're going to go ahead and copy that. We're going to go back to our style sheet, and we'll go down here to the bottom, and we'll paste that in and upload it. Now while I'm doing this, let me go ahead and just mention, I've got 26 seconds to do this, that if you want to click this off and say don't show this message again, you can do that. It says should dependent files be included in the transfer, we'll say no, and then hopefully that little window won't come up anymore. I usually left it up because sometimes I did want the dependent files to be uploaded, but in general I don't, so I'm not going to worry about that much anymore. Okay, so now let's go back to our page here, and this is what it looks like now, so then we'll hit the refresh and see what it looks like. Now I've refreshed my page, but something clearly went wrong here because we don't see the icons, we just see these little squares here showing that the icons aren't coming in. Well, so that means that even though we're using the code for Font Awesome to display Font Awesome, we have not placed any code into our website that actually goes out and gets the Font Awesome font and allows us to use it on this site, in particular in these areas. So what we could do is we could do a search out on the internet and find out how you use Font Awesome with WordPress. So I did a search using Font Awesome in WordPress. We go out here. This is a great example of how to find information on the internet. So it says using Font Awesome in your WordPress theme, and it has a bunch of different options here that you could do. But we're going to go ahead and do this easiest one. It says the easiest way to add Font Awesome to your theme is to use something called Bootstrap CDN. All you need to do is add the following code in the header section, in the head section, I should say, to your theme's header.php file, which is the one that comes up first at the top of the page. And this is the information we need to add right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. For your purposes, you'll have to go to this. I'll go ahead and, I tell you what, I'll go ahead and provide you this line of code in the code snippets so that you don't have to go out and find this website. So in the code snippets, just look for this code here that says link href equals net nta bootstrap. Go ahead and copy that. And then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go to Dreamweaver and we're going to have to download our header.php file. So we'll go to the remote server, double click on that to download that file. It will pop up in our Dreamweaver like this. And then this is header.php. We want to locate the beginning of the head section. You can see the head section starts there and ends here. And as long as we put this code anywhere between the begin head and end head tags, then we'll be okay. It will allow us to use that font. So we'll go here where there's a little space after this last link. We'll hit our enter button and then we'll do Command V on a Macintosh to drop in this code, which essentially says go out to this bootstrapcnn.com website and allow us to use the Font Awesome CSS style sheet, which is going to allow Font Awesome fonts to be displayed on our web page. So now that we've got this, we'll go ahead and we'll put this into our website. We'll upload it. We'll go back to our website where we have these ugly little boxes and we'll hit refresh. And now we see the nice left align icons for recent posts. We see these nice little comment balloons for the recent comments. And we see these little banker box icons for the archives. Now, in keeping with the theme of sort of weird and distracting sounds in the background, I had to turn a fan on the lowest setting just because it's extremely hot in here and you wouldn't want me to melt in the middle of one of these tutorials. And soon, to add to the cacophony, we'll have a marching band and a group of screaming weasels will be coming through at any moment. So listen for that. Okay, I wanted to show you something about the code snippets. The code snippets I've been looking at have this kind of nice layout, which is, it's only available when you look at a certain kind of file, which is called a web archive. And I'm not able to give you that file because it won't upload to the WordPress website, some sort of security issue. So instead what I've done is I've copied it into a document here in OpenOffice. So it looks just a little different. It's got most of the same coloration and everything, but it's going to come out just a little different when you guys are looking at. But if you look up at the top, there is a menu, and these are all the code snippets for all the chapters that we're using out of the lynda.com tutorial, which is a tutorial about how to build a website using underscores from scratch. So where we are right now is this section 7.5, adding custom styles to specific widgets. You can open this up. You could, if you want to, you could copy this line right here. You could do edit, find, where's my find and replace. And that's already pasted in there. We can say find. It's going to find that one. We can say find it again. And so here it is down here. these are the styles that we have been using right here, and then, so they're easy to find just by doing a search like that. Now, as far as the code which allows you to put the Font Awesome icons into your site, in other words, it allows you to use that Font Awesome code, I've gone ahead and I've put that onto the website, our class website. So if you go into the post for today, go down to the DAR 257 section, here's the code snippets that you can download, and that's all the code snippets for, as I said, the entire tutorial on lynda.com. And then this code in red, this is what you want to highlight and copy, and that is what's going to go right here into your header.php file between the begin head and the end head tags, and that's what's going to allow the Font Awesome icons to work. Now, going back to the page here, there might be some other things we want to do to make these styles look a little better. We might want to go ahead and make it so that some of these styles, some of these information just kind of goes all the way across the page, maybe take some of the padding out between the list items, things like that. And so we do have some code in our code snippets that we can use for that. I'll go ahead and use the code snippets you guys are going to be looking at so that it makes sense to you when you see it. So when we last stopped, we were using this this style here. This was the last style we pasted in, this and everything above. And you remember, this is where the Unicode information is that made those little widget icons. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to use the code right underneath that, which will be this code from here down to about here. And this is going to take some of our widgets and take the information and put it in what's called a block, which will allow it to span 100%. It's going to change the padding a little bit and put a border underneath it. And this is going to allow some of our widgets to look a little nicer and cleaned up. So this is going to be in the navigation menu area of the widget, which is where our, if you remember one of the widgets we brought in recent posts, recent comments, and archives, but we also brought in a menu. And this is going to go ahead, and it was the testing menu that we chose, and this is going to go ahead and style that. So we're going to go ahead and copy this little block of code. We're going to go back to Dreamweaver here, go to our style sheet. We're going to go down here to the end and make some space with our enter button and paste in this. We're going to upload it. Okay, now we're going to go back here, and here's our custom menu. Let's go ahead and hit refresh and see what that looks like. And you can see after hitting refresh that now we have these sort of head categories here, and then the different information which is pushed in a little bit. It's tabbed in, and then we have some lines, and these are the borders that we put in underneath each of those sections. So you can see that this is a cleaner look, and look at how our menu is really cleaning up here on the side, or I should say our widget, how it's cleaning up, how each section looks a little different from the other just based on the layout and the icons, and how we made the custom menu look different from all the others. Okay, so the last thing we want to do here is if we scroll down beneath all of our fun stuff here, we've got sort of a million things happening going on forever and ever. We can come down to this section called RSS. Now, an RSS stands for really simple syndication. And this is when you have a blog and you want your posts to go out automatically to readers. So there's this software that you can load up in a web browser. It's called a reader, and what it does, it's an RSS reader. What it does is you can go to your favorite blogs and you can pop in the code from those blogs for what's called an RSS feed. And these feed readers, what they do is every time a new blog is put on one of the posts that you like, it automatically gets pushed to you and comes up in your reader. So instead of visiting 10 blogs that you like every day, you could just go to something like Yahoo, whatever your main website is where you check your email, like Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo. You open that up, you install the feed reader plugin, and then it will show you all the recent blog posts. Well, You can see that this is not a very nice styling of the RSS information here. There's a title, but then the date is kind of smushed right together with it. And then here's the content, and then there's the author down there. Well, this is not a very nice format, so we want to see what we can do about changing this format a little bit. So let's go back over here to Google Chrome, check out our website here, and you can see that I still have the tools, the web tools open, developer tools. And we'll go down here, we'll scroll down to our RSS area. Scroll for just a small lifetime or two, maybe 3 or 4. There it is, RSS, right? And now we can click on here because once again we have to be able to go ahead and figure out where it is we're gonna add these. We can see that there's something called widget RSS. What if we go specifically here to the date? Click on that. Okay, we can see that there's a little class, there's a span class called RSS date, and so that will allow us to target just the date in particular. So what we can do is we can go back to our code snippets. Once again, I'll go to the sheet that looks like yours, and we've got some code here. It's the last block of code. These last 3 are a couple of styles here. So we've got widget RSS list item. That's going to put a little 0.5 EMs underneath the bottom of each of those items. And then we've got RSS date and RSS site. That's the citation at the bottom. We're going to display those as a block, which will allow it to go all the way across the column. And we're going to shrink the font size so that stands out a little bit. So let's go ahead and grab these last couple of styles here. Copy those. Let's go to, once again, to our styles. And we're going to go ahead and hit enter a couple times and paste this in. We will upload this. And then we'll go out to our website. Here's our RSS section. And we'll hit refresh to see how this looks. And now that it's refreshed, you can see that the title is there, but the date is on its own separate line. It can go as far as the width of the column. And also the citation, the author, is down here at the bottom. She has a little italics applied to her, and she's got her own line there where it looks very nice compared to the content itself. Now, as you can see, we've gone ahead and we've styled some of the most popular WordPress widgets. We made them sort of our own style by adding in some CSS, adding in the font awesome icons. We made that look really good. We also made the RSS look really good. And there's really no limits to what you can do. Any widget that you bring in, you can style. You can use the web developer tools to target the specific style that you want to apply your new styles to. And then go ahead and try out some padding and some font sizes and some different things to try and make that look the way that you want it to. And it's a trial and error process. But as you learn, you get better and things start to look better and work a little better. Okay, that is it for this video tutorial for tonight.